I'm aware that some of you are curious about the progress on Jofito, the high-level intent-based language that I was talking about. Some of you had even donated some money for the cause. So here's what's going on. I came to the realization that the high-level language being authored in C would actually be a big mistake. I would write it, but I would end up with a severe problem where I essentially am just writing around all of the major problems in C. The amount of work that would be required is insane. So I've pivoted. Instead of writing Jofito, that's on hold. I am instead working on a language I'm not going to give the name of yet, but it is a low-level language that is designed basically, think like if someone designed C, but they designed it today, not in the 1970s, back when machines had 18-bit or 22-bit or 36-bit machine words, and every byte of memory was valuable, and storage was often linear magnetic tape. Things just don't work that way anymore. We're not in the 70s or 80s. Ever since out-of-order, superscalar execution, and CPU caches, basically ever since the 486 and arguably more so the Pentium and Pentium Pro processors, which I would like for you to keep in mind, we're still talking early to mid-1990s here. Everything has changed. C is built on an archaic model. Now, I am a big proponent of C because new languages like Rust or Zig inexplicably don't fix the problems with C. They just take those problems, tack on some kind of, this is what makes our language magical and special, and then that's supposed to just make them better. But it's Band-Aid on a chainsaw wound. I am architecting a low-level language that is the whole chainsaw wound. That was a really stupid way to put it, but it kind of fits. Here's an example. This is the prime example of what my language does differently that no other language does. If you have an array of a specified width, you go through that array, right? Let's say you have 100 integers of 64-bit width, and you go through that array of 64-bit integers. There are problems in C related to walking off the end of the array and corrupting memory. There are problems related to widths of individual items. There are problems related to the size of the allocation. And you have to track all this stuff manually. So in my language, arrays are first-class citizens. They store their allocation length and their actual number of items of the width of that array type in actual memory. And the language makes a decision at runtime based on how much stuff is in there, whether it's more efficient to do SIMD or scalar, for example. SIMD doesn't make sense if, for example, you have 12 items. Spinning up SIMD, especially 512-bit wide AVX, will actually cause more harm to performance than just doing it straight with normal 64-bit instructions. So the other construct that makes it different is these first-class citizen arrays, you don't make pointers to them. You write an iterator, and the iterator goes, for each item in the array, do this, or whatever, and you can create bookmarks in the array instead of pointers. So you can say for index or offset or item number 12, keep that around, we might need to do something with it later. The language does not go, okay, manually track pointers and offsets and memory addresses and locations and blah, blah, blah. It says, let me track that for you and make decisions for you about overlap and efficiency and so on, that you would have to sit there and manually code yourself for every processor architecture imaginable. You shouldn't have to do that. So the language will do it for you. Also, by not allowing pointers, but instead by using offsets and using offset-aware iterators, we don't have the aliasing problem that C presents, or really any language that has any kind of pointers presents, where we can't guarantee that there's no overlap, therefore we just do the most paranoid thing possible. This is basically giving you the memory safety of Rust with the performance of C, and it won't take 30 hours to compile. The problem with this language is any new language must be bootstrapped, which means I have to write a transpiler, but I also have to write the language spec. This is, if you even look into compiler design, everything that I'm talking about is a monumental undertaking. And I have spent more time planning than writing code, but I'm glad I did, because had I written a bunch of code for Jofito, what I would have ended up with is something written in C that was inefficient. The low-level language is what Jofito will be written in, and it will have constructs like these array iterators that allow aggressive SIMD optimization without the programmer having to babysit. This is the entire point, and to some extent, I'm glad that I'm just doing planning right now and that it's all vaporware, because had it not been vaporware, had I not thought this through and done a whole bunch of, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Cost-benefit analysis before putting a bunch of code down, I would have wasted a ton of time that, by the way, you guys paid for, writing something that essentially was a dead end. So I've pivoted. I'm still working on it. Please have faith in me. I'm not ready to bring it to prime time. I still have to write the transpiler. I'm working on the language spec right now, and it'll be a minimal spec at first, and we'll expand it as we go. But there are some things that have to be planned right before you start. A new language, if you spend 80% of the time planning and 20% of the time coding, that's better. Trust me on this. I've looked into it. Anyway, that's my update on the Jofito language, which is temporarily canceled, and the new name only known to me language, which is lower level, that Jofito will be built on top of, that will absolutely kick ass. I have lots and lots of details that I have yet to reveal, but that you guys will be really pleased once I decide to let it go. I don't want to give away the secret sauce. The array thing is just a taste for you. Thanks for supporting me and putting faith in me. And just know that I am doing the work. I am not sharing it publicly, but it is being done. And I do appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day. Now, I still am recovering from a horrific cold, and it's really hot. So I need to go inside and lie down. Everybody, take care. And that live stream that I mentioned, we'll get that scheduled in the next few weeks.